Hey guys, welcome into another episode of Locker Room here on SBTV. As always, I'm your host Ben Zitouni, and joining me today is Nathan Hansen and Alex Strouf. Guys, it's the last week before Thanksgiving break. Are you gonna make it? Alex, you don't look like you're gonna make it.
I'll make it, man. I'm just sleep deprivation through the roof. I'm okay though. I'm alive.
Nate, you
We'll
gonna
make
make
it. We only got basically one more day of classes, and then I get to head home. So I'm excited for that.
And I'm digging your Aaron Rodgers stash. Nice tribute to him. Bring him back sooner.
Exactly. Hopefully, brings it back sooner.
Well, tonight on the show we'll have a Pointer Sports recap, break down everything going on in college and pro football, and then we'll play a round of buy or sell, and then play a round of a new game I invented, patent pending, named What Should Happen. So starting off tonight, the Pointers were wrapped up their season. Last game with a 34-16 loss to Platteville on Saturday. Sophomore QB Mitchell Newbauer played the entire game and finished with 15 completions for 220 yards and a touchdown. Senior defensive back Kevin Sanchez finished his last game as a Pointer in style with 4 tackles, an interception, and a fumble. He returned 67 yards for a touchdown. Jerry Williams finished with 7 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown in his last game. Pointers finished the season with a 4-6 record, which leaves them in 7th place in the WEAC. Guys, it was a tough season, no doubt about it. But how would you summarize it, Alex?
How would I summarize it? I mean, definitely, it was pretty clear that the injury bug hit pretty early in the season. That didn't help at all. But I think on the bright side, because I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Okay, let's hear it.
The future's bright. I mean, you and I called the game a few weeks back where Jahi Stigall and Samaje Williams were on the backfield for the Pointers. I mean, that's definitely some signs of or light at the end of the tunnel for the future. I mean, these guys are bound to be pretty solid halfbacks. Could be a good 1-2 punch in upcoming years. A lot of freshmen were seeing time, and sophomores, etc. Young guys, underclassmen were seeing time just due to the injuries that the Pointers suffered early in the year. So definitely, I mean, the future is bright, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were really just inexperienced this year. A lot of changes on that offense. They didn't have a lot of seniors playing this year. Even they had some coaching changes as well. That has to play a role in that. So really kind of just overmatched in the powerful WEAC conference with powerhouses like Platteville and Whitewater and Oshkosh. So it's always tough to, even if you're at full strength, to take down those guys. So looking forward to the future for sure.
Yeah, me too as well. I think it'll definitely be interesting next season, seeing how they replace the seniors on their defensive side of the ball. They're losing quite a few defensive linemen and linebackers, and they're losing 1 or 2 offensive linemen on the other side of the ball. And we'll see how they decide to replace those. That'll definitely be interesting, and we'll keep an eye on the Pointers. Shifting onto the ice now, the Pointers men's hockey team added 2 more wins to the resume this season after sweeping both their games over the weekend. On Friday, they beat St. Mary's University by a score of 7-2. Leading the scoring barrage for the Pointers was Tanner Carty with 2 goals. Also chipping in were Luke McElhaney, Drew McLean, Austin Kelly, and Steve Quagliata. On Saturday, they beat St. Thomas in a 2-1 overtime thriller. Tanner Carty scored the game-winning goal just 40 seconds into that overtime period for his 6th goal of the season. This team is on a roll, winning 3 straight games after losing in their 3rd game of the season. What does it say about the team? Nate, we'll go with you this time.
They turned it around, which is good. You like to see them bounce back after a loss like that. And you don't really know what's going to happen with this team, how they react to adversity with the season, because first-year head coach Tyler Krieger and a lot of young guys playing out there for the Pointers. Tanner Carty's really carried the burden offensively. He's been their main goal scorer, so I think they have to work in a lot of those other guys. Carter Rue scored his first goal at home, and we haven't really heard from him since. So a lot of different guys are playing a role, but I think somebody else has to step up and help Tanner Carty.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to quote Dennis Green when I say they are who we thought they were. We always expect the Pointers men's hockey team to come out strong, and they have so far. But Nate brought up some of the adversity. A new head coach, some of the guys that might not be stepping up that should be, and vice versa. Some guys that are stepping up that maybe shouldn't be. They'll figure it out. I think they're in a good place right now. Obviously, a good test on Saturday against St. Norbert, the number 1 team in Division III. So that should be a pretty good game. I know everybody around here is pretty hyped about it.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. But no, I mean, you mentioned Tanner Carty. He's been playing phenomenal hockey. Just stick to the basics from here on out. I mean, do what you can, get your shots on goal, play some good defense, and probably have good results.
Yeah, and No doubt about the 2 games they have at home this weekend are definitely big ones. So speaking of that, the Pointers return home this weekend for games against Marion University tonight and St. Norbert's tomorrow night. Both games start at 7 o'clock. The Pointers women's hockey team dropped their lone game over the weekend, a 6-1 loss at the Hansen Conference for River Falls on Saturday. Scoring the lone goal for the Pointers was Ali Biagini. Guys, the Pointers keep struggling, having now lost 3 in a row. What's been going wrong for this team?
They've had one of the toughest stretches in those 2 games before the game against River Falls were against number 8 St. Thomas. So that's a top 10 team you're playing right there. And then to turn around and play an even better team in River Falls, you'd like to see that gap closed a little bit. 6-1 is a bit of a drubbing, but you want to see that closer because Stevens Point and River Falls are going to be the 2 teams that are there at the end of the season when it comes to conference play. So you got to close that gap a little bit, and I think they have the potential to upset one of those teams. They just wasn't scheduling was not in their favor so far early on this season.
Yeah, I think Nate mentioned it. I think that's the number one thing you can look at. You want to face tough teams, obviously, and obviously it didn't go in their favor either time when it came to the 2 top 10 teams. But I mean, the season's just underway, so there's a lot of time to turn it around, and I'm sure they'll get it figured out. They always do.
And those games against St. Thomas were close too.
They
weren't blowouts or anything.
Yeah, I guess I'll just chalk it up to early season struggles.
Exactly.
Moving to the hardwood now, the Pointers women's basketball team won their first game Wednesday night in the Quant Fieldhouse as they extinguished the Alverno Flames 67 to 35. The Pointers defense was led by Carly Serrato, finished with 13 points. Alex, I know you were doing the PA for this game.
Yes.
What impressed you about this team?
This team has a lot of potential this year, and I wouldn't have said that a week ago. We saw 2 freshmen start this past week, both Brooke Geyer and Ashley Leiterman, my classmate. Shout out to Ashley. But I think that this team, I mean, like I said, 2 freshmen, young starters. They have 1 senior in the starting lineup. That's it. So obviously the future is bright. But for this season, Alverno wasn't the toughest of all challenges. I mean, they're going to see some tougher teams coming up here. But they played really well, rebounding, assisting, finding the open person, using your shot clock. I mean, they didn't have a shot clock violation all game. They used their time. I mean, they had multiple shots after, like the 6-5 second mark, but they weren't rushing them. So that was impressive. Defensively, they just weren't allowing anything really. They didn't allow Alverno to get comfortable, and that was refreshing to see defensively. They only allowed a few shots inside if it wasn't in transition. So there's a lot of good things about this women's team that everybody should be excited about. It was a fun one to watch.
Nate, your thoughts?
Well, Coach Egner always has a team prepared, and they're younger this year, obviously, so they're gonna have to grow up pretty fast eventually throughout the season. So probably see some growing pains here and there, but I think they're gonna be all right. They did lose a lot last year to graduation mainly, so to kind of counter that, it's gonna be a little interesting to see what they do. Because of the players that they lost were, they played such a specific role on the team, how they implement all the freshmen and even the younger players and how they get more action in the post with Taylor Barrett.
Yeah, it would love to be interesting to see how they progress through the season. And going off what you said, it's really important for this team that Taylor Barrett stays healthy this season.
Yeah.
She can add an extra spark offensively and defensively as long as she's on the court.
Yeah, she wasn't on the court that much just because of how or especially the second half, but because of how big the gap was. But when she was on there, you could tell they were definitely running the ball through her. It's almost like the batter's men's through Ethan Hatz. That was good to see. Taylor's definitely off to a good start this season.
Well, the Pointers women's team heads to Iowa this weekend for the Loras tournament, where they'll take on Simpson College and then the host school, Loras College. The Pointers men's basketball team got their season started Wednesday night as well. It didn't go as planned. They couldn't get a W in a 60-45 loss to St. Olaf. Nate Dodge and Cannon O'Haron both led the Pointers in scoring, finishing with 8 points. Guys, what kept the Pointers from winning this game? Obviously, you're not going to win much when your 2 leading scorers only finish with 8 points.
Right, and not to mention the 2 leading guys that have returning from last year points per game were both out. So that didn't help. But I had play-by-play for this one as well, so I was at both of them on Wednesday nights. For this one, I saw a lot of good flashes. The rim was not being generous, and I kept saying that during my call. I mean, they had a lot of rim ons, but they had a lot of, so like I said, the 2 leading scorers from last year that are returning were out. So we saw a lot of guards we haven't seen a lot of. A guy that impressed me was Drew Fredrickson. I mean, he played the most of any starter, if I'm not mistaken. He handled the pressure really well. He played really well. Cannon O'Hearn, me and Kevin Bargender, who had the call with me, kept mentioning, if he's on the floor, you got to run it through him, because he was playing really well when he was on there. You just saw himself as a foul trouble. This men's team's got stuff to be excited about, for sure. St. Olaf was tough competition. They had 3 scorers returning that would average over 10 points per game last year. All 3 of them scored over 10 points in this one. So I'm not too worried about the men's team. But what kept them from winning this one was obviously, it's a younger team, inexperienced group, not a whole lot of chemistry with the guys that were on the floor. But it was still not a bad display of what they have for the upcoming year.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it with the two guys out, MJ Delmore and Ethan Bullitz. Without Ethan Bullitz on the floor, they're going to be struggling to score. And you talk about Nate Dodge being the leading scorer. He wasn't even on this team last year. So they've got a lot of new faces as well, and they have pieces that they don't know where they're going to play and how they're going to fit into a game, any game really. And St. Olaf, like we talked about, is not a bad team at all.
Yeah, men's and women's starting off their season obviously opposite, or men's starting their season off opposite how they'd like to, but it's early season. There's obviously going to be some struggles, and I have no doubt that both teams the women will stay consistent, and the men will obviously turn it around. Well, after this commercial break, we'll be back to talk college and pro football.
Wengrzyn, the 7th largest book printer in North America,
McCarthy does
is
not
hiring
expect
students
Montgomery
this
to play
semester.
on Sunday.
We are 100% employee-owned and located right here in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. All shifts currently hiring, with jobs starting at $10.80 an hour. Hours are flexible. For more information, contact the Wengrzyn HR department.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back. The Badgers football team moved to 10-0 on the season and won the Big Ten West, and held on to the Heartland Trophy with a 38-14 win over Iowa Saturday at Camp Randall. It marks the team's first ever 10-0 record. Badgers defense led the way as Leon Jacobs recovered 2 fumbles, 1 he returned for a touchdown, and linebacker TJ Edwards picked off a pass as the defense held up Hawkeyes to just 66 yards of total offense. Guys, is it safe to say, and am I wrong if I say the Badgers defense won them this game? Nate, you look like you got something to say.
Absolutely. I mean, their offense was kind of stagnant. 2 pick sixes by Alex Warrenbrook, not good at all. So
3 interceptions total.
Exactly. So without that defense, the score would have been flipped, I think, and that's kind of what I thought was going to happen going into this game. But the defense stepped up in ways I didn't even expect them to. We know they're pretty good. We haven't seen them tested was the thing, and this Iowa offense was pretty good, and they're coming off their best win of the season. So it was something I didn't expect to see, but it was pleasantly surprising from the defense.
When you hold a ranked team to under, what was it? It was 66 yards of total offense. I think it's pretty safe to say that the defense won in that game, Ben. The defense is so good on the Badgers team this year, and that's why they are where they are. So moving forward, obviously a big one this weekend tomorrow against Michigan. It'll be another good test for the Badgers defense and offense. Alex Hornibrook needs to become the elite quarterback. I think he is.
Yeah, it's definitely been a struggle for Hornibrook most of the season. I won't say all. He has played well at some points, but he struggled against tougher competition, which is not what you want your quarterback to do, obviously. As Alex talked about, the Badgers host Senior Day tomorrow when 21st ranked Michigan comes to town with kickoff set for bright and early at 10:30 a.m. I don't know if I'll be up for that game. The latest college football playoff poll came out on Tuesday. There's definitely a shakeup at the top. Alabama is number 1, followed by Miami, Oklahoma, Clemson, Wisconsin at 5, Auburn, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma State. Alex, you have a problem with these rankings?
Why is Clemson ranked second? Why in the world is Clemson ranked second? I don't understand it.
Why are the Badgers only ranked 5th?
I'm okay with that.
I'm not.
I think Clemson's probably still a top 4 team, but it makes absolutely no sense to me at the rate second. This team lost to Syracuse, for God's sake.
Unranked Syracuse.
Awful. Like, we don't even need, they're never going to be ranked. They are awful. An atrocious football program. That's beside the point. Miami's good. Auburn just had a huge win against the number 1 team in the nation. They were only ranked 6th. The Badgers beating a top 25 team ranked 5th. I'm okay with it. The Badgers will get in if they win out. That's what they need to do, because some of these teams, like our SEC teams, Alabama, Georgia, and who was the other one I mentioned, Auburn. They're going to have a lot more tough games in the Badgers role. We're seeing Michigan, Iowa, and Ohio State. Michigan and Iowa and Ohio State, good team, potentially, assuming they'll place in the Big Ten Championship. So do I have a problem with where the Badgers are? No. Do I have a problem with these rankings? Yes. I don't understand what the committee is doing with Clemson.
Hey, Wisconsin's they have to win the Big Ten outright to get any chance of being in the top 4. At 5 right now, I understand if they take down, it's probably going to be Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. They need to win that game to get in the top 4. And I think that's fair because, they haven't played a very high level competition at all.
Neither has Alabama.
Neither is Alabama, but they will come the SEC Championship game, and that's going to decide their fate as well. Miami, they probably secured their spot with that win over
That was
Notre
a
Dame.
huge win over Notre Dame. They dominated
You
that
got,
from start to finish.
you got to think about it though. Clemson and Miami will play each other in the ACC championship.
That'll be a
One of
good
those
game,
two teams
too.
isn't going to make that top 4, so that's going to open a spot for the Badgers, assuming they win outright.
So yeah, it's a little shaky this year because it's actually going to play itself out, and I think that's something we haven't seen in the past where we weren't sure if a team was good enough because they weren't playing the championship game and the conference championship games or whatnot. But I think Oklahoma probably has the best chance right now to be in the top 4 because they don't have a championship game, and they're kind of controlling the Big 12 down there. So I think they're in the best spot right now.
You think college, the football playoff should expand? 8 teams?
Ben, we've talked about this off air how many times? Absolutely not. I love the 14 playoff.
Or Nate?
I don't know. They would just have to extend the season, which is the problem. It's
Would
some
you'd be
logistical
able to
problem.
get the conference winners from each of the
Sure.
Power 5 teams? Then, say in this case, when Wisconsin's 99% chance they'll play Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship game. The winner of that would obviously be part of the playoff. Then the loser of that could obviously still be part of the playoff.
Well, and you have
Wisconsin, assuming they beat Michigan and Minnesota, and then if they lose to Ohio State, they'd obviously only have 1 loss. They'd
Right.
still be a pretty good team.
Absolutely, but you also have to take into consideration you have a 10-0 team in UCF, Central Florida, that's ranked 15th. So, I mean, they're undefeated, they've done everything right, but they're still not going to get in. So, I mean, it's definitely something to take a look at, but I doubt we'll see it.
Just make it a March Madness type tournament format, 68 teams, 4 play-in games. That'll definitely bring revenue to the NCAA and the schools, which we all know they'll love.
Let's move on.
I'm joking about the tournament format, by the way. Terrible idea. Well, we're going to take a quick 30-second commercial break, but when we come back, we'll talk Packers football. All right. It's 20 minutes.
Cool. Long commercial.
Welcome back to the show. Brett Hundley got his first win as the starting quarterback in the NFL, and the Packers won a key division game as they beat the Bears on Sunday, 23-16. Hundley finished the day 18 of 25 with 212 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams led the way on the receiving end, finishing with 5 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Guys, what improvements does Brett Hundley still need to make? He struggled. He definitely struggled early on in that Bears game, no doubt about it.
He did, but what Brett Hundley needs to do is break out 3rd and 4th quarter Brett Hundley. Remember that beautiful rainbow to Devontae Adams on the sideline? If he could throw like 35 of those on Sunday, I think we'll be in good shape. He showed some really good flashes, which is about time. We know he can use his legs. We're not going to have running back, so it's time to unleash. We found out like 10 minutes ago that Ty Montgomery will not be playing on Sunday. So it's time to unleash Brett Hundley. Let him throw the ball 35, 40 times. Let him run the ball. Let him be Brett Hundley. Don't make him try to be Aaron Rodgers. Let Brett Hundley be Brett Hundley. I think we'll see some good results. Baltimore's defense is going to be probably the toughest challenge he's seen, maybe other than New Orleans. He was still uncomfortable as a quarterback in that game. So I think it'll be a good one, but I'm excited to see Brett Hundley be Brett Hundley.
Yeah, the big thing for him, why he played so well, I think, in that Chicago game at the end of the game was because the running game was working so well.
Yeah.
Even after Aaron Jones and Ty Montgomery went out,
Jamal Adams came in and provided a much-needed spark for that offense.
Yeah, he didn't finish with like flashy yards, finished like 50 or something like that, but he was getting some tough runs. He was picking up the first downs that they needed to. So I think what I hope we don't see, which I think we've seen a lot of, is them being too conservative with Brett Hundley not letting him throw the ball downfield instead of kind of daring him like the defense is doing. He's going to take advantage of those opportunities. Still missed a few checkdowns here and there. He doesn't look too comfortable in the pocket. When he's been flushed out of the pocket, he's kind of just held onto it or thrown out of bounds. When there's a guy that's 3-4 yards downfield, just hit him, pick up those quick yards, and keep it moving. But if he can do that a little more, I think he'll be fine because we've seen he can make those big throws when needed.
Yeah, he struggled with clock management a little bit against the Bears, but going back to your point, Nate, when you're talking about being too conservative with Brett Hundley, we saw against the Saints, the Lions, and then in the first half of the Bears game when Mike McCarthy was too conservative and didn't let Brett Hundley do what Brett Hundley does, the Packers struggled. The second half, he let Brett Hundley throw more, he let him run it if the play broke down instead of making him throw it out of bounds. And what happened to the Packers offense? They got clicking, the offense found more success in the second half, and they went on to win the game. So I think that the key is McCarthy needs to not be so conservative with Brett Hundley. Let him go out there and make plays.
There you go.
He's going to struggle. Every quarterback struggles, but when a quarterback is comfortable and is able to use his abilities, good things happen.
There you go.
So the Packers return home this Sunday with a noon kickoff against the Baltimore Ravens. We'll keep going, but the Ravens, Alex, you talked about it. Their defense probably going to be the toughest that they faced since the Saints. How do you think Brett Hundley does on Sunday?
Well, I don't know. I mean, excuse me. It's going to be definitely interesting to see what the Packers decide to do with Brett Hundley in that offense. The Ravens' defense is really good. They have some of the best defensive backs in the NFL. They've broken down the last couple of weeks. I assume they'll probably get it back together. I mean, they've had some time to do that. This Packers offense isn't as high-powered as it usually is. You're down 2 running backs and your quarterback. So how do I think Brett Hundley will do is the question, correct?
Yes.
Oh boy. I think the Ravens are probably going to win this one, but I think Brett Hundley will continue to show some flashes like he did against Chicago. I don't know if he'll have an MVP-like performance, like
I'm not asking. I'm not asking him.
No, I think he'll do fine. I think he'll have like a Joe Flacco-esque performance, no Ravens.
So be borderline
So
terrible.
No, not borderline. Basically what he said.
Nate?
Well, the Ravens' offense is actually worse than the Packers' offense. Flacco has 8 passing touchdowns on the season through 9-10 games, which is not good at all, obviously. And they have even less of a running game than the Packers do. They just got Danny Woodhead back, so he adds a little bit to that. But they're stuck with Alex Collins, the former Packer, so they really don't have a lot going for them on offense. I think the Packers are going to pull away with it. I think Hundley will probably struggle a little bit against this defense. I think it's going to be the same type of performance against Chicago because Hundley didn't play extremely well against Chicago, but he got it done when he needed to, and I think that's what's going to happen against Baltimore.
Yeah, and the Ravens also have Packers preseason star from a couple years ago, John Crockett, on their roster.
Yep.
Really wish the Packers would have held on to him. He definitely would have seen some playing time.
No doubt.
And he would have succeeded. He played well against the Lions a couple years ago when he actually got some playing time, got elevated from the practice squad. We're going to take our last commercial break, then we'll be back for a round of buy or sell and what should happen.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back to the show, guys. We're going to make this quick. We're going to play a round of what should happen. I'll ask you guys a question, and you should tell me what should happen. So, first off, what should happen to the 3 UCLA basketball players that were caught stealing in China? Alex, you look like you got something to say.
I don't. That's the thing. I mean, I don't have a very strong opinion on this. It was really dumb. Probably an indefinite suspension. I don't know why they're stealing whatever they were stealing. Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the big baller brand, why do you need to steal like Louis Vuitton sunglasses?
That's some low baller stuff.
That is.
Low baller stuff, shoplifting in a foreign country. Suspend them for the season. I don't care. What should happen to Dom Capers at the end of the season? Alex?
Yeah, people have been calling for his head for so long. Maybe it's time. I don't know. This defense started out really good, so we thought. Now they're just not playing that level. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the Teddy T and the boys, but maybe it is time to get him out.
So you leave it up to 10 tops and nothing's going to change.
Yeah, right.
Nate?
I think he's overstayed his welcome for sure.
Fine.
You know, you haven't seen the Packers defense play well until they've faced a bad offensive line like they have against Seattle, and defense looked amazing. They looked pretty good against Chicago. They had plenty of sacks. You know, that Chicago offense line was not good, and they had a young quarterback. But other than that, this defense has been pretty bad. You know, they've been mediocre against the running game the past couple of years, so that, you know, hasn't been terrible, but the passing game's just been so bad that I think it's, whether it's time for new players or not, I think at the end of the day, your defensive coordinator is the one who's going to get the blame for all that, and, you know, he's overstayed his welcome for sure.
What should happen with Neil Walker? Brewers resign him?
Yeah, I don't see the harm in that. I think when we traded for him this past season, he played well. They did it. He did everything they asked him to. So I don't see why not. If you can get him for a good price, might as well.
If he wants to be a platoon player, you know,
Him and Sogard.
exactly, Eric Sogard's going to be there. They re-sign him. So, you know, it seems it's going to be up to Neil Walker, really, because I think the Brewers want him back. I don't think they wouldn't have made that trade if they didn't have, you know, some liking there. So if he wants to, I don't know what he wants for a deal. That's going to be on the table, what he wants for money, and what role he's ready to accept. I think that's going to be big.
Yeah, moving on to Briar Cell real quick. Giannis is the current front runner for NBA MVP.
Not a conversation. I'm going to absolutely buy that.
I want to buy it. I'm going to sell it just because of the Boston Celtics record right now. I think Kyrie Irving's
14
on top.
wins in a row.
14 in a row, but you know that race is so close right now. There's so many good players in the NBA compared to, you know, whether it's like the NBA or the MLB or the NFL. There's not as many guys up there at the top in the MVP conversation. In the NBA, you probably name 10 guys that are in that conversation.
I'm going to buy that too. The Badgers will make the college football playoff. Nate?
Ooh. Man, it's tough because it seems like the committee doesn't have a whole lot of love for them. You know, Barry Alvarez isn't on that committee anymore, so he can't really put his 2 cents in. If they beat Ohio State, they should be in. I honestly don't know if that'll happen, but if they beat Ohio State, I think they'll make it.
Ben, I was here, I think it was like a month ago, like 4 weeks ago, and I sold this. I have to stick to my guns. I just do not see them beating both Michigan and Ohio State. Unfortunately, please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to sell that.
Well, I always try to be the optimist. Hornets
There you go.
definitely struggled. I'll buy it though, but the Badgers defense is definitely going to have to win them that game against Ohio State. The Packers still have a chance of making the playoffs.
What did I say before the show? They're making the
Yes.
playoffs. I'm buying it.
I don't know. Mathematically, it's like a 5% chance, but you know, numbers are garbage. So I'll buy it, and I think they're going to take a wild card spot.
I'll buy it. I think Rodgers is going to come back the last 2 weeks of the season and lead them to a wild card. And
Yeah.
when they make the playoffs, who knows how far they can go. Last buy or sell. Craig Counsell should have won NL Manager of the Year. Buy or sell. Nate?
That's tough because, you know, the Diamondbacks did with Troy, I can't even pronounce the last name.
Torey Lovulo.
There it is, Torey Lovulo. Down in Arizona, turned that team around, not winning that division, but they were pretty close. And if the Dodgers weren't in that division, they would have won it. They got close to 100 wins themselves. So, and that team, coming into the season, no one expected them to be there. I think no one expected the Brewers to do what they did either. But I think that kind of plays into how they play throughout the season. If they kind of go in with an underdog mentality going into the season, they'll play a little looser. They won't have so many expectations, and I think they'll be all right. So I'm okay with it. You know, Counsell made some good moves, but I think at the end of the season, the Diamondbacks made a few more moves, especially to get J.D. Martinez. I think that might have helped Torrey's case a little bit.
Yeah, Torey Lovulo, whatever, I'm close enough. Yeah, he did exactly what Nate said. I mean, he turned it around and he brought the team to the playoffs. Nobody expected to be there. Brewers were like this close from getting there, but obviously it didn't get there. So I think it probably would have been opposite if Craig Counsell and company would have gotten there. However, Counsell blew quite a few games this year when it came to decision making, so no, I'm going to sell that. He should have won it.
I'm going to sell it for the same exact reason that both you guys talked about. If the Brewers would have made the playoffs, then my answer would have been buy, but they didn't make the playoffs, so obviously That's my answer, sell it. All right,
Yeah.
that's all we have for you today. I'd like to thank Alex and Nate for joining me today, and a big thanks to all our technical staff and all our hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SBTV UWSB Television, or follow us on Twitter at SBTV_UWSB. Go visit the UWSB homepage to locate all your Pointer athletic information. We won't have a show next week because of the holidays, so we'll see you back in 2 weeks, and have a happy Thanksgiving.